10.
I don't think I'm making 5 of it. I think this group is going.
Trish and I, Thursday we can share. Talk quick.
Okay, so if you hear a loud scream, give me a feel. Let me get
We'll be out tomorrow.
You volunteered to come too.
Thanks, Mr. Mickey.
West Ham got stick.
We'll be looking forward to seeing you.
We're having to earn your money as soon as you come back from vacation.
Charleston in the morning. It's a busy week,
Fun stuff?
I guess. Depends on your perspective. Two federal court appearances.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay. Kim, let's proceed here, please.
Well, I've been falling out of better places.
Know when you're not wanted, don't be.
That's right. You won't have to ask me twice.
You can take a hint, can't
That's right.
you? All right. On the superintendent's evaluation, we talked a little bit about this the last time we met. A couple of things. One, I don't feel that we will be required or need to meet on the 14th. A couple of weeks ago, I thought maybe we might have to. All of you have received a copy of the letter that I sent to the state superintendent, kind of stating what we plan to do as far as evaluating the superintendent. I tried to look at the state code and guidelines along with our local policy. That's how I discovered that we were supposed to do all these other things. And in that letter, Dr. Martin just kind of stated, what our schedule of doing things. In order to do that, we've begun that tonight by revising the one policy that I thought we need to clear up a little bit. The next thing we need to do, though, is on the 21st agenda, we need to have our instrument that we're going to use to evaluate the superintendent. We need to modify it a little bit, and I don't mean actually come up with goals or anything like that. What you have before you, correct me if I'm wrong, Brenda, one is kind of like the first has category 1 and 2. Those are the mandated goals that the state requires all superintendents to be evaluated under, and this is essentially the instrument we used last year evaluating Superintendent Lucas. Those are, well, I guess everybody except for Gary was involved in that. But we would be following the same procedure to do that. But when looking, the other is some other optional goals that we could choose that kind of coincides with our board policy, the other things we may choose if we so desire. And these, it's unlimited. If there should be some category that's not even listed, we could choose that and go with that with Trish and come up with another goal. So that's just gives. But the thing that I found that concerned me a little bit was on the state requirements is that our instrument that we used had 2 categories that are required that we don't have in there. The goal we have, but the things that we don't really have on here are the timelines for the accomplishment of the goal. So we need to modify this instrument to reflect timelines. In other words, the time that we're going to base our judgment on the superintendent's performance. It needs to have timelines inserted, and also how is it going to be evaluated? Because as you can see on the form we have now, we just have a grading scale. Exceeds, meets, or does not meet. So we have the goal, and does this person meet it? But it's missing 2 components. One, the timelines, and one's how we're going to evaluate it. Now, thinking back on last year, on the timeline, obviously we could put whatever we feel is the appropriate time based on what the goal is. That's relatively easy. On how we're going to evaluate it, we'll have to think through that, and we can do that during the session when we meet to develop the goals. But it could be some of the things that we used last year, some of the documentation that we asked the superintendent to provide to us, and we had our show that they put on for us with the 2 big handbooks and all that kind of thing. But we could state specifically in there, evaluated on test scores, things like that, So depending on what the item is, with these on the first two that are related to achievement, I'm certain that, test scores are gonna be one of the things that we wanna evaluate it on. And then, should it be on some other category, we would insert there. So we don't really need to be worrying about that. All I wanted to bring to your attention tonight and ask that you be thinking about and get your comments on if you feel it needed, is just revising this form that we have and adding to it 2 more columns. One, the timelines for accomplishing the goal, and secondly, the second addition would be how are we going to evaluate. So then when we meet in the future, we'd be able to sit down and fill in all 5. But unless I hope I'm not confusing everybody here, but all I'd like to see us do on the 21st with Brenda's assistance is come up with a new instrument that has 2 more categories on it, so that when we begin to meet sometime prior to September the 15th, and we will have to decide that probably at the next meeting or so, but I think Gary pointed out to us that the 14th is a Friday, and that's School Board Association, so it's not going to be then. So it'll probably be sometime that week, but we'll have to agree on what day. Because as you can see, that's all done in executive session, as you recall, and the board establishes the goals they feel are appropriate, and we call the superintendent in and get her input on it, feel that she's comfortable with those, and then at that time, I think we can go through, and once we've established the broad goals, and see if there are any particular objectives or the time frames or how we want to document it, because Trish can give a lot of insight there as to, here's how I can document that I've done this. So, but like I said, all I would like to do tonight is just for you to be thinking, and that's placed on the next agenda, if there's not any objection, of having a new instrument that has these 2 categories in it. And like I said before, we've sent the letter to Dr. Marple. We're revising a couple of policies. We revised our instrument. So then the only thing that we need to do in the near future by September 15th are actually to establish the goals. And then we're kind of in a holding pattern until probably around the beginning of March or February, when then we will have to begin to listen to what they have to say as to how they've met all these goals. And we'll get Mr. Midkiff to help Ms. Lucas just to carry the notebooks in now. And then we can go there. And as we said before, being that this is the last year of this present contract, we'll have to do all this and finalize it before March the 1st this year. Okay, that's all I have to say on that as far as so.
I just wanted to say, I hope you all will consider not putting anything that has to do with culinary skills or horticulture.
I know Mr. Wilkerson was talking about that earlier.
Not good at those.
Well, you got to improve. Okay.
Just don't put them on there.
Jody said that, okay.
I'm not talking about culinary.
Does Jody do the cooking? He does. Because he won't do the weeding.
Too many restaurants around me.
I think that's the problem we're getting out of now. Okay, Chris, you have anything else you want to share with us tonight? Any comments?